Thank you all for being here today. This is a huge day for the future of our children. The Philadelphia beverage tax began when we identified the needs. Rampant poverty. The Philadelphia beverage tax began when we identified the needs: rampant poverty, inadequate education system, and struggling neighborhoods. We needed programs to address these issues, and we just couldn't, quote unquote, find the money in the budget. So we proposed a funding mechanism that was the least onerous to taxpayers. We chose to tax the distribution of sweetened beverages because, unlike wage or property taxes, it's a tax that no consumer must pay. We have a choice. You can buy these non-essential, non-nutritious drinks or not buy them. Today, the highest court in the Commonwealth ruled that our administration and our great colleagues in City Council have the full legal authority to impose this tax. We are grateful to the Justices of the Pennsylvania Supreme Court for their fair and careful review of this case. We maintain from the day we proposed the tax that it stood on solid legal footing, and the justices, like the two courts before them, agreed. I'd really like to thank City Solicitor Marcel Pratt and his predecessor, Sozi Tulante, and the entire Philadelphia Law Department, along with outside counsel, for their brilliant work, and I want to give them a round of applause. We'd also like to thank Rob Dubow and Revenue Commissioner Frank Breslin and their teams for their work in implementing the tax, because they're actually collecting it quite well. So thank you. Of course, we give many thanks to the members of City Council who stood with us in the face of the opposition to support the programs that this tax supports. And Councilman Curtis Jones is here. Council President Clark is. I didn't see him. I would have called him out first, but he was standing behind the solicitor. Councilman Bill Greenlee is here, and I don't see anyone else. But I thank all City Council for their help. Most of all, we thank the thousands of advocates and everyday people outside this government who refuse to heed to incessant misinformation spewed by the local beverage industry, and who were vocal and forceful in their support of these programs. This was our army of unpaid lobbyists. Beyond the legal resolution, today's decisive ruling offers renewed hope for tens of thousands of Philadelphia's children and families who struggle for better lives in the face of rampant poverty. Those families in the entire city of Philadelphia now have a clear path towards substantive, tangible improvements in their lives. It is a path that will bring the educational gains of free, quality pre-K, the benefits to neighborhoods brought by community schools, and the quality of life improvements and economic benefits brought by rebuilding parks, recreation centers, playgrounds, and libraries in neighborhoods throughout our city. These programs funded by the beverage tax will fuel the aspirations and dreams of those who have waited too long for investments in their communities. The City of Philadelphia will proceed expeditiously with our original plans, delayed in whole or part by nearly 2 years of litigation, to ramp up these programs now that the legal challenge has finally been resolved. Of course, as always, of course, the multi-billion-dollar beverage industry will not stop here. As most of you know, they already have legislation in Harrisburg, introduced by a person from Pittsburgh, that would threaten not only this tax, but also the ability of any town or city in Pennsylvania to find local solutions to local problems. I urge anyone reading a story about this, or hearing my words, to urge their state representative to oppose that measure. It would be devastating to the entire state, and no community would be able to help themselves with the issues that are facing them. For our part, we will stay focused on that path ahead. Every day I hear from parents of children in pre-K families and seniors whose lives have already been improved thanks to the programs funded by the tax. I hear from working moms and dads who are now able to get to work while their 3- or 4-year-old is in free pre-K, getting the skills they need to be successful in kindergarten. And today we remain resolute that their needs and the needs of communities that have been targeted for decades by the beverage industry's marketing arms will remain paramount to this administration. With this funding and this new ruling, we now move forward to the real challenge of building a greater Philadelphia. And the frustration, I guess, has been, and it's always frustration during litigation that's protracted, is that all the children that we haven't been able to reach yet. 2,700 kids have been reached by the pre-K program. We've had to delay the rec center and library renovations. We weren't able to expand community schools to the extent we wanted to expand it. We're now full speed ahead in doing what we need to do to give equity into our give our communities equity, and to give our kids a chance to meet their potential. And this is what I've been saying since I started running for mayor, seems like 30 years ago, that we wanted our children to be able to meet their potential, all children from every neighborhood in the city. These are our kids. They belong to us. Whether we birthed them or we didn't, they're still our children, and we have a responsibility to meet their needs. And when the needs are not being met from a federal government or state government, we need to help ourselves. And we've always said that from the beginning. We're willing to help ourselves, and we're doing that. Council does it every week and helping us to move these programs forward. So I want to thank you all for being here, and I really want to turn it over to my friend and colleague and partner in all these programs, our Council President, Darrell Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good afternoon. I didn't want to repeat what the mayor was saying, but there were a lot of people involved in this, from the advocates to unpaid lobbyists. I actually love unpaid lobbyists. All the people across the city of Philadelphia that understood the importance of being able to have good programs, and we really would want to thank them. I obviously want to thank my colleagues who took a very tough vote. It's a very difficult challenge. Can't remember the last time we got screamed at by both sides of the equation, but it's all good because at the end of the day, we did what we had to do. So I want to commend them and thank them so much. I want to thank the law department, Mayor, because I know early on that folks were saying, you guys are up against all these highly paid lawyers and the whole 9 yards. And sometimes people downplay the skill sets associated with government employees, particularly lawyers, who clearly have the ability to do something else in life than work for government. So I want to thank Sozi. Sozi actually texted me, and I want to thank Marcel and your team so much for the good work you guys do. And I want to commend the Supreme Court, this Supreme Court, Pennsylvania Supreme Court, for the ability to recognize the rights of a local municipality to enact legislation to raise revenue to support its citizens and provide programs to its citizens, because at the end of the day, we can't look to anyone else. So I want to commend the Supreme Court for coming down and ruling and recognizing the rights of us to enact this legislation. So to everybody, Mayor, congratulations. To everybody, thank you all so much. Awesome stuff. I already have my first rec center picked out. Let's expedite. No, that's just my first. Many, many to follow. Thank you all so much. Thank you.
I want to ask our lawyer, and it's our lawyer, Council President and Council and the Mayor's office. Yes, you got good clients here. A terrific lawyer, the person who's been not only in the beverage tax, but on our sanctuary city issue, a welcoming city issue, federal court. He's just a terrific litigator, a very, very smart young man, and we're happy that he and Sozi before him are willing to work for in the public sector when a person like this, of this caliber, could work in the private sector for seriously a lot more money we can pay him here. But he's committed to our city and to our kids. Marcel Pratt.
Thank you, Mayor and Council President, for those kind words. Today, the highest court in our Commonwealth affirmed the legality of the Philadelphia beverage tax. As we have stated since City Council first passed the tax, the City of Philadelphia possessed the legal authority to enact the tax because of the broad taxing authority granted by the Sterling Act. As the Pennsylvania Supreme Court has now recognized, the Sterling Act was intended to provide tax revenue for Philadelphia and to enhance the city's ability to address essential local needs and issues. This is precisely why the City of Philadelphia enacted the beverage tax, to fund programs and initiatives that our city desperately needs. It also reinforces the principle that our mayor, city council, and the people of Philadelphia know what's best for Philadelphia. Once and for all, it is now beyond question that the Philadelphia beverage tax is not duplicative of the state retail sales tax. As the Pennsylvania Supreme Court said, the payer of the beverage tax is the distributor, or in certain circumstances, dealers, but never the purchasing consumer. I also want to take this opportunity to thank a few people who were essential and a part of our legal team on this case. First, I must thank the Law Department's Richie Fader and Francis Beckley. They deserve credit. They deserve credit for the very creative drafting of the legislation and being a part of the litigation effort from the beginning. We wouldn't be here today without your work. And they've worked on this issue for many years, so this is a very sweet victory for them. I also want to thank our outside counsel, the law firms of Hengley Aronchick and Chamberlain Hertlicka, for leading the city's litigation effort, and especially Mark Aronchick, John Stapleton, and Andrew Hertland. John and Andrew are here today, so thank you. And I also want to thank Ken Trujillo and Matthew Olesh from Chamberlain for their support as well. I also want to thank the many organizations that filed amicus briefs in support of the city's case. The Sustainable Business Network of Greater Philadelphia, the International Municipal Lawyers Association, PCCY, SEBA, Delaware Valley Association for the Education of Young Children, the Parks Alliance, African American Chamber of Commerce, Philadelphia Opportunities Industrialization Center, the City of Berkeley, and the American Heart Association and other health organizations that signed on to its brief. This victory has been a long time coming, almost 2 years. It's really been a year, 10 months, and 4 days, but nobody was really counting. But in all seriousness, I'm thankful to the court for its careful consideration of this matter, and I'm glad that we are now at the point where we can move forward with the programs that the tax funds, with full assurance from this state's highest court that the beverage tax is lawful. So thank you.
Thank you, Marcel. Any questions? Yes. Well, she had her hand up, I'm sorry. I'll get you next.
How much tax revenue was left unspent while it was on hold?
Rob? Or Anna? Well, you can ask the second one, yeah.
The 5-year plan that was put out in March said that the city would start spending those reserves in fiscal year 2020. Will you do that sooner now than?
The issue of spending the money fully has always been, in case we lost, we'd have to pay it back. So if we rolled out the 6,500, 7,000 pre-K seats, did the 24 community schools, started borrowing money for recreation centers and libraries, and God forbid we lost, we'd have to take it out of the general fund to pay it back. So that's why it had to sit. And it had to sit in the general fund because it can't legally sit anywhere else. And that was used by the beverage industry to kind of, again, misinform people that were somehow the money was not being used for its stated purpose, but was in the general fund. It was in the general fund because we were afraid to spend it fully in case we had to reimburse it. So as far as the specific numbers, I'll ask Rob or Anna to. Yep. Okay.
And would you immediately then open more PTCs?
Oh, we're ready to go. Yeah, we got the green light from the Supreme Court. That's pretty heavy. We'll be for next year. Yeah, yeah. Well, there's. No, it's going next. Yeah, but we'll still be expanding the program. I mean, even though we didn't have the positive ruling, we did reach 2,700 kids. So, I'm sorry. Yes. No, I don't know. I can't speak. I'm not a member of the legislature. I can't say what effect this ruling will have on them. But we have to approach this as if if they're going full speed ahead. Things did slow down a little bit towards the end, and the governor is on record as saying he's opposed to it also. So we think we have enough safety valves to get our way through and have it finally end. But this was the one that I stayed up at night and worried about. This was the one that would have ended it if it had gone the other way. And I think a 4-2 ruling with one recusal is a pretty strong vote. Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead. It just happened this morning, so we haven't. You mean in general? If you talk to, no, not me personally. I don't know whether or not individuals you've been contacted by other revenue people.
Yeah, we have a group called Soda Cities. We have a
Oh, I didn't know that. Soda Cities. That's nice. Yes.
We don't have a total number right now, but that's easy to get, so I can certainly send that to you afterwards. Yeah, and we can say that the cap on the hourly rate will be in that information. I can't recall it off the top of my head, but I'll give you pretty much the entire breakdown.
The hourly rate is not unlimited. I think it's with a very reasonable number, but we'll get all that information to you. Yes. Yes.
Is there any talk right now on coming to the table to mend the now sour relationship with the beverage company?
There's been nothing as of today, but because they're still, their statement was they were moving full speed ahead with the legislative relief they were looking for at Harrisburg. So apparently, I don't know what there's to talk about at this point. Again, the frustrating part are the facts. And the facts are that, 2 new ShopRite stores opened in the city of Philadelphia recently. In the retail food sector, wage tax collections are up, business tax collections are up, and the most recent perusal of the ShopRite website, there's 400-plus jobs open, and people are signing up to go to work, not being laid off. So, I mean, I understand I see their frustration. I don't understand it, but the facts surrounding that industry are not negative. They're positive. Okay?
Anything else on the tax?
Beverage tax. It's like welcoming city. So, you gotta watch your jargon. Anything?
Preliminary numbers yet for how much it raised this fiscal year that just ended?
Yes? Anything else? Yes?
What do you have to say about Jay-Z claiming that Native American was evicted from
No. First of all, I love Jay-Z. I think he's extremely talented. He's very philanthropic. We love the concert, and we want to keep it. There's some operational difficulties on the Parkway because of how long it takes to kind of set up and take down. We were in conversations with the people we thought were communicating that to Rock Nation and to Jay-Z. Apparently, they weren't. The issue of being the last year on the Parkway was in the RFP that was responded to, and since they responded to the RFP and had no complaints, we thought that it was okay to look around for some other prominent sites in the city where we could do it. We are in discussions with the right people now, and I'm confident we will work everything out. We want to keep the concert, and we want to maintain a good relationship with Rock Nation, and we're going to work hard to do that. And we're talking to the right people now. We weren't. What? There are other prominent places in the city, which I'm not going to, there's 4 or 5 different places that it could possibly go. But we are in conversation with them now. We're talking to the right people now, and we're confident we're going to work it out.
Mayor Kenny, does this be in other events of the Parkway areas, other large events?
Well, yeah, but the Parkway Council commissioned a study that came back with this information. That study was made public. It talked about the stress on the infrastructure of the Parkway, and that was kind of the basis of where we went with the RFP. And again, when they responded to the RFP with that information in it, the assumption was that alternate sites were possible. So we are now, again, speaking to the right people, and we will work it out. We don't know yet. We're talking to the right people as of like today. Where do you want it?
On Concourse, Lane, West Philly.
We don't know yet. We're having conversations with the right people for the first time since April. There's not a signed contract yet, and but I want to just restate, the value of the concert's important, our relationship with him is important, and we want to make sure we can work it out. Yes.
Are you concerned that other event organizers may see this as a deterrent, that Philly may lose its reputation being able to?
No, I think we're pretty good. We're pretty good at it. We've showed that we are, and we just had recently a good event on the Parkway with the 4th of July. Again, there's the infrastructure there and the community there. It's difficult. There's institutions that need to be taken into account, but we are now talking to them directly, and we will hopefully have a good outcome.
Can you talk a little bit more about the study that you just talked about?
It was promulgated it was made. It's a public document. We can get you a copy. Yeah.
Mayor,
It wasn't intent, there was no intent to slay. Again, the suggestion or the part of the RFP that said it would be the last year on the Parkway was in the RFP, and it was responded to without complaint at the time. Now he's aware of it, and he's upset, and he's complained. And we're listening, and we're going to talk.
You are confident that you'd be able to keep MIA in Philadelphia?
We want, it's our goal to keep it in Philadelphia, yes.
Just to be clear, you say it was in the RFP, you're saying that the city had given them notice, it may have been overlooked on their end.
Yeah, but they were the only respondent to the RFP. But it was in, my assumption is that the person who reviewed the RFP and responded to it saw that particular part of the RFP and then would have complained at that time as opposed to submitting a bid. So again, we're now talking to the right people, which is his folks directly, and we have every intent of working it out. And, yes. Okay?
When was that RFP sent out?
Where's the, no, the RFP was sent out in April, right? When was it responded to? May. Yes. So, yeah, but that's, look, I've been in politics and government for, almost 30 years. People both called me names before, and I'm good. I'm fine. But again, we weren't apparently talking to people who were communicating directly with them about the pertinent information, and that's why we wound up in the situation that we're in, that we're going to try to correct. How was Canada? It wasn't cold. It wasn't cold. I thought it was going to be a little cooler. It was kind of a. We talked with some tech companies that have a relationship, Bentley Systems, that has headquarters in Exton, that has an office in Philadelphia, an office in Quebec. And they put together a group of tech companies that are interested in maybe expanding into this area. We talked about training programs for young people in IT and in STEM. It's a beautiful city. I got to re-meet Simone Gagne, who's a great Flyers player, terrific young man, and his lovely wife, and had a nice couple days, and had to stay an extra night because of the weather. We couldn't get in anywhere. We tried to get into a couple different places, but everyone was shut down, so I was on a plane this morning. Yes?
Can you tell us who you were talking to and who you're talking to now?
We're talking to Rock Nation now. We were talking to Live Nation. And then they were partners, I assume, with Rock, I believe with Rock Nation, but that wasn't articulated. The information to Live Nation was not articulated to Rock Nation, and that's what caused this kerfuffle. Okay, thank you.